React is back, chat. This fucking headphone's hanging down wrong. Everybody hold on. Hold on to your seats, love. Now, we gotta get rid of this. Now, have we been off for like 3 days? 4 days. Now, that's bigly. Now, last stream, y'all ever read Berserk? True, I've read way more Berserk since then. You know, I'm a Berserk master. Oh, it's September leader. Chat, not a leader. Though subliminally, where's my fucking sub, you piece of shit, leader? Save up to 30% on new subs until October 1st. Now that's big. It's brought to you by Valorant. Now what else did we do? Did we actually react to anything? I forget. Oh yeah, it was the masculinity in video games thing. And then this guy recently got in a debate where he got destroyed or something. It was hilarious. Oh my god, crossword. I just had the crossword thought. Do you guys think I could beat Crash 1 100% or 102% in one sitting? I'm just thinking about it, chat, you know. Maybe I could do it. Maybe I should do it. Maybe I will do it. Maybe I won't do it. Revolutionary Girl Utena, when anime got bad. Did we finish this video on stream? I think we ended up finishing it, right? I don't remember anything about this video, but I remember liking it. It was about, like, cell shaded or something. It was about animation techniques or something, I think. Anyway, who cares? Hey, what's in this fucking thingy, huh? Nothing? Oh, that's right, I was going to write down things to talk to Elite Ari about while we were doing our Chainsaw Man chapter review. Do you think we got any more great comments on our Chainsaw Man chapter review? We already got 2. Nearly at... what do you call it? 410 subscribers, and by nearly I mean we are. That's crazy. I'm rich, I'm famous. I think I got paid $44 from Twitch just because they had to pay me out or something. Or maybe 44 USD is now 100 Australian dollars or something fucking crazy. Only 81 views. I only see the black thumbnail, even though there is 3 of them. So you've only got the 2 comments that I've already seen. So, you know, apparently Statue of Liberty translates to something in Japanese, and that's why the chapter was titled that. So we know. Oh my god, just 2 men choking each other. You gotta love it. Oh my god, football.
Oh, what boots!
It's pretty cool.
Try assist. Oh, what boom! Ola Kawatu. What was that?
Pretty easy name. Anyway, that's all the tweets. We got some things we can react to. We've got some games we can play, like Guess the Great Anime Opening. Everybody's ready for this. Now, previous days. That's what we were always clicking. And we've been going in order because the older, you know, when you're just in the first few, it makes more sense that it's going to be obvious ones that I might get. So, I'm predicting a 1 second correct guess. Naruto Shippuden number 15. Oh, fall 2018. I wasn't watching anime in 2018. That doesn't help at all. 2018. Promise Neverland and everything is the next year. I literally can't of a 2018 anime. It was like Demon Slayer that time or something. 39 episodes. It's the Death Note number. Or is the Death Note 37? What would have more than one core of episodes that came out in 2018? But no more than that. Frankly, I'm at a loss. I'm just making sure the fucking audio's working. I have literally zero ideas. Shonen. Great. I have not even a guess. Let's scroll through these, Akame ga Kill's too old. Bleach, no. Dragon Ball Super. It's got more episodes than that. Organized Crime, Supernatural. Dorohedoro or whatever is not a shonen. Is like Banana Fish or something. That's not on here. Bungo Stray Dogs. I feel like that's 2007 or something. David Productions. We've gotten them before. I think this one's just a bust. No, this isn't like the full thing. This isn't gonna help. And I don't want to get copyright claims, so we have to mute for a few seconds every time. I truly don't even have a guess. Oh, it was a shitty JoJo's opening. Why do I give a fuck about these losers? Anyway, if there were people in chat, they would be freaking out. The JoJo slops, F sake. This means fuck's sake, Heath. One of the JoJo slops. Does Heath not like that JoJo one? I'm confused. Anyway, because we did so poorly, I want to do another one. Ohio. Oh, I know this one. It's Dr. Stone. See, this was the 1 second. Just kill yourself and put the fucking. Ah, you didn't put the dot after doctor. How about you kill yourself? Well, now I want to do another one because that one went for 1 second. What an anime. 10 out of 10, remember? For sure. One of the JoJo slops for sure. Okay. This one sounds vaguely familiar. But I have no guess. Summer 2014, now we're talking. Well, now this can be Akame ga Kill. I'm just reminded it exists because I see it at the top all the time. I wonder what the fuck Akame ga Kill is about. I know it's about assassins or something, and it was like... But I think it was just a dumb shonen. It seems familiar. I'm skipping again. P13. Like, Future Diary and shit is older than 2014, right? Fuck it, let's just guess it. It's not. I know the Mirai Nikki one. Otaku culture / school. Like, Bunny Girl, whatever the fuck, and Kaguya-sama are all after this. What's a 2014 rom-com that's popular enough to be in the 11th opening they want to feature on this thing that's otaku-based? I have no idea. I don't want to listen to the whole thing again. Okay, I don't know this one at all. Wait, I think I looked this up when I found out about this when I was looking up, like, the romance anime. Yeah, I was going to watch. And this is about, like, the mangakas falling in love or something. Anyway, I don't know that. That's enough of that nonsense. Now let's check in on this nonsense. Lights on a nightstand, night lights, or lamps. Historic performance at Moulin Lascar, Moscow. I don't know. It's just chugging along. It's a train. I swear I glanced at this and then thought it said vibrator, but it says visibly muscular. Strong. No, that doesn't fit. Fit. Lean. Jacked. Squirmy and fidgety. Autistic. Nerve. This. Oh, here's nerve. That takes a lot. No. Lot of nerve. Well, at least we know we're right on those ones. Might protect your shirt from a grease stain. Apron. I'm a genius. Intended. Ask noisy questions. I don't know. Needing shower after a beach day. Sun. I don't know. What could this be now? Historical performance. Oh, is it just opera? That would make a lot of sense. Oh, Sandy. Now, what could this one be? Visibly toned. C. Ant. A fucking genius under 2 minutes. No, you didn't do it in 1:33. You did it in 2 minutes 33, Heath. Stop lying. Now, other than that, we don't got much else to do other than react. I'm still working on this silly Berserk video, and it keeps getting bigger. Where is it? Is it updated yet? Well, I just redid a structural thing, because I'm just yapping on chat. You know me, just yapping about Griffith for 50 fucking years. I don't even think this is updated yet. Also, look at those internet bars down there, only 2. So how's our connection doing? It used to have a little green thing in the corner if it shows it's doing all right. But it doesn't anymore, so I'm going to assume it's okay. Now, I don't know if this has... Oh yeah, here's the big fucking monologues I wrote out. And then I was watching both the 97 Berserk and the movie versions of this scene. This is the scene where Griffith is in the dungeon and he thinks of Guts, and then afterwards the little creepy little, I nearly said aliens, demons or whatever, come and kiss his finger, and then the God Hand appear for a second and say, "You're a kinsman, you and I." And then they're like, "See you later." And then they run off. I think I'm going to frame each character and with a monologue. But that's like an idea I've had. But also, this is supposed to just be part 1 of the script. It's supposed to be like, oh, here's each character using repression to undermine their goals and personal growth, etc., etc. And then I'm supposed to do the whole, and this is largely used later as a metaphor for the idea of evil and stuff. Which is actually supposed to be the good part. But I'm so focused on the first part that I haven't even thought of that part yet, or how I'm going to tie it back in. So there's a lot of thinking, because this video is going to be like 40 minutes long or something now, even though I didn't want it to be. But, you know, things just grow. But also, I've like read basically nearly the whole of the Golden Age out of order now. Because I was reading... What did I start with? At first, I was looking for the Griffith quote. That didn't exist. The Ciclet one. Because he's a lying piece of shit, that Ciclet. And so we were going through a bunch of scenes. Like, the most recent little bit I read was, like, the Queen stuff. Where, after they come back from Doldry, the ministers all want to kill Griffith. And that's only, like, 4 chapters. But then, I think I continued on from that into Guts. And Guts' conversation with Judo and Caucus. Which is, like, famously in every fucking Alexander video. Because it's just so important in showing Caucasus Point and Judo. He's just such a good character, and etc. etc. And like I basically tried to avoid all the big moments that I think are just, oh, whatever, I know this shit, I don't have to do it. So I haven't read anything with, I nearly said Adonis, but that's true, I didn't reread, like, the Assassination or the Fountain of Dreams speech or anything. Or the Bonfire of Dreams. The Idiot Knight, they make a joke in the 90s show. And in the movie, I'm pretty sure. What is his name? It's not Adonis, it's, Heavy Artillery, whatever the fuck. That guy. I've avoided all that in Doldry. I've read right after Doldry. I've read basically all the stuff. I guess I've read that whole part after Doldry until I haven't gotten up to like the Baki Rocker or Wild yet. But I've read all that stuff. But I did read it out of order. And also I did read some of the earlier stuff, I think. But yeah, it's just muck around to see what could be interesting for the video, which I think is how I'm going to do it, because now, especially now that I've read like 20 or so chapters all out of order, I'm certainly not doing a proper reread anytime soon. So I think I'll probably just continue to do that for other things, like, because obviously I'm thinking about Berserk now. I've got like 7 different video ideas, and one of them's about the different characters, or like about the Vandeminian family or the royal family, so I would just skip and read those Vatanus chapters, and then skip the dumb fighting chapters. Nobody gives a fuck about Guts and Zod, they're lame. I just want to learn about the Great Farnese's mother, and the Great Farnese's father, also Serpico's father. Isn't that crazy? But we'll see how that all goes. I think I'm probably going to have to reread a little bit of Lost Children for this video too, but you win some, you lose some, chat, but whatever. So we've been doing that. But outside of that, we've got reacting to do. There was a new B-Mask movie today about Rayman 3, which I think... Is Rayman 3 an N64 game? Because Rayman 1 is on PS1, but this game looks like but no, it seems to be on GameCube. It seems to be on 6th gen consoles, which is funny because I think it looks like an N64 game. Wait, let me see some footage from this B-Mask video. I'm behind on a few B-Mask videos, so we can't just watch this one, or maybe we can. See, this looks like an N64 game. Oh, that's Rayman 2. I've been tricked. Rayman 2 jumping to the N64 would be funny. I'm trying to fucking Google here, chat. Wait, he probably just says it at the beginning of the video. Let's just watch it. Hey, it's over here.
It's not that I don't think Rayman 2 is great. Maybe this is one of those you had to be there moments, but visually, this was one of the most groundbreaking things to come out of the 3D revolution brought about by Mario 64, saying, hey, why don't we paint those textures? Why don't we conceptualize some of those amazing looking characters with some of the best designs for pirate enemies you've seen in your life? And hey, while
He's gonna say, and they did this all on the N64 or something. We'll wait for it, chat.
at it, let's have them act. The music, the style, the scale, visually and conceptually, Rayman 2 is
Rayman 1 is just a side-scroller, right? So now we're in 3D, it's crazy.
one of my favorites. But as a game, and purely on a personal level, it's complicated. My issue is that the experience sort of stops at its look. It's a really interesting scenario with this amazing opening, and it's intriguing and funny and surprising, and then, after an encounter with the King of Nightmares, resulting in what I can only assume made someone very happy, it sort of never gets better. Ray 2's boggy swamp vibes wear a bit thin on me as it goes on. Starts to feel like one really long level, and even with a couple neat gimmicks thrown in...
He's not going to say it, chat, but I was getting sucked in. You know, this dumb B-Mask makes some good videos. Rayman 2. This looks like a PS2 box art. No, look, it says Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, so it was on the PlayStation 2. The enhanced port, Rayman Revolution, was a bit of it for the PS2. Is a 3D platformer which played from a third-person perspective. Some situation of moment, huh? Is it going to say the original Rayman, which I played a little bit of when I was a real little boy, chat? Does it have like a previous game somewhere? I'm trying to see Rayman 1. Is a sequel. Oh no, this is the character. Nothing good is coming from this. Where are his list of games? First game. Yes, this thingy. I've seen... What an image ingrained in my brain. Platform game. He initially targeted the Atari ST. What the fuck is that? The Super NES 3D? Nobody used that. The Atari Jaguar? All fake. Then we got him on... It was a launch title for the PlayStation in North America and Europe, and complete with the... I didn't know that. Now this is crazy. See, this is a little side-scrolling video game. But anyway, it used to look weird and look cool, and he didn't have arms. Everybody remembers the Great Rayman. But anyway. You're so quiet and passive sounding. Well, Elite we can certainly change that. I mean, it's the same as it was for our recording. Anyway, I just bumped it up a little bit, so you know we could be in trouble here. I opened the BMask thing here. What was the last BMask video I watched? Where's the Frasier video? My goodness, this motherfucker pumps out videos. Only 11 months ago, 2 hours and stuff, and then he's just back on the grind. Now this is crazy. Return to Monkey Island. Is that game we learned about? Oh no, that's just a point-and-click game. I thought that was that thing from the best-looking video game video we watched, but that's not true. Oh, I also opened top 100 anime EDs. I feel like we've seen this before. Because I recognize this type of, like... What do we call it? Iconography for the list? What was number 1? Wait, is Madoka right there? No, that wasn't it. But obviously Madoka should be number 1 besides Dragon Ball, which nobody will ever have up here. But what do they have as a number 1? What is this lame weeb shit? Oh, thanks for watching. How about you tell me what you put at number 1, you piece of shit? Kabanari of the Iron Fortress? Anohana. Isn't that the one Elite cries about? Anohana. They all died or something. Oh my god. Oh, never mind. A list redeemed. Come on, play it. Angel! Elite be like, I've never heard this song in my life. Why did Elite say goated? Oh, because of Anohana. Now, if we have this Dragon Ball, there's no excuse for not having the other Dragon Ball. We certainly don't like Full Metal Alchemist. Oh my god, there was a Naruto one. Do I even recognize the one? Ew! What is this? I feel like that'd be loud. I can put the knob back down. Oh yeah, I recognize this. Big spoilers on screen chat, but you're too stupid to figure out what they mean. You love the greater card studio. Oh no, look at this Mushoku Tensei fan, you know, you're freaking out over a little girl. The classic Naruto jokes, we love them. Now, what is this? This seems vaguely old. Ew, Hunter x Hunter. Oh my god, this is like the little girl and the ant guy and they're playing chess or something, and that's like supposed to mean something, or we're supposed to care about that. At least that's what the people tell me. Ew, another Mushoku Tensei. Oh, Vinland Saga, is it Without Love? No, it's the shitty first one. When did this video come out? 9 months ago. That sounds like there's no fucking excuse for having this piece of shit ED. Like a little flower bloom. Oh, this terrible English. This is good. But what is this nonsense? Oh my god, I remember this part. It's not good though, so, you know, it shouldn't be on the list. Alright, we're scrolling back through. We will find, I'll Give You Romance somewhere, chat, don't worry. Gintama, that's embarrassing. You even know Gintama. Death Parade, that's not Death Note. Shut up, McDonald's trying to give me fucking ads. I don't want to Uber Eats right now. I'm trying to save money. Dr. Stone, do I remember the Dr. Stone ED? I bet I do. I bet it's great. Oh yeah, I vaguely remember. Yeah, whatever. Not so good. Tokyo Revengers. I know nothing about Tokyo Revengers. Hajime no Ippo. I just saw that it was in 4. I wanted to stop and glance. That was also 4x3, but I don't know what that is. May as well have watched the whole video now. Eyeshield 21. Oh, Naruto. Oh, the Naruto first ED. The greatest song of all time. Shut up, I was listening to that moron. I think I skipped forward too far. And when I try to skip back, you know, it's dark in here. Remember when I put this great song? Not this great song. Got this fucking shit off my screen. at the end of the core themes and changing context in Attack on Titan video, and it didn't fit at all, and I was just like, I'm lazy and don't want to find another song. That was great. Epic. Don't worry, chat, we're gonna find I'll Give You Romance. It's gonna be here. Oh my god, another Hunter x Hunter one. Oh, Attack on Titan. The one with the dumb bird cages. Oh, this one was alright. It's not the second one. The second one's like the best one. Remember? That one? Chainsaw Man. Oh, no, Chainsaw Man had some good ones, right? But it wasn't this one. ReZero. Wait, that was Dragon Ball, wasn't it? Dragon Ball Super is disgusting. It is insulting to my very intelligence. This fucking shit went on long enough to have 10 EDs. This is embarrassing. Don't worry, chat. We're going to see it anytime soon. 70, Boruto, epic. One Piece ED1, I remember that one. I didn't see Madoka at any point either. We're just retarded up in here. I was looking for what if there was like a timestamped list and we'd gone through all that for no reason. What are you even looking for? How about Curiosity, Elitari? You ever heard of it? Now, is anime becoming political? Now, what a video chat. 13 hours ago, 2,000 views. I want to watch just a little bit at the beginning to see if it's really dumb or not. Don't you? Aren't you just so curious? Now, oh my god, I was telling Elitari about the greatest Tyrone Magnus moment of all time. Let's get it up. The great Tyrone, he was reacting to the great state of play yesterday. Come on now. And towards the end, he was having a great time, He was like, oh, this looks interesting. And then games came on, and he was, like, happy with himself because he could identify that they were soul likes. And that was pretty funny. Also, Assassin's Creed got delayed, and, it's obviously because they woke it up, you see. Because, they had the black guy in the Japanese game, and it's like, what are you doing? What are you just doing? But anyway, and Ghost of Tsushima 2 is getting announced. And then he's clearly liking it. But then he realizes that it's a girl MC this time, and he's slowly turns. It's funny. Where is this shitty trailer? Oh, he's talking about how he doesn't want a Horizon remake. How original. He's a real Miller the Killer. Here he goes.
Let's get a Days Gone too, by the way. I'll probably get that. The game's damn good. Is this Ghost of Tsushima too?
True, Days Gone. We love the great Days Gone.
After that. Japanese flute. Flapping! To disappear.
Cape flapping, chat.
1603. But you.
Fucking hot.
You.
Oh, listen, bro.
And now, every Ronin here is after you. Cool silhouette. Flapping. Still think you're the hunter.
Don't you love Japanese sound effects, chat?
Like a female warrior. I saw the eye. It made the eye pretty.
Uh-oh. So he's identified the problem, chat.
Ghost of Tsushima 2. I saw the way the horse's tail and the way the banner was flapping. This is Ghost of Tsushima. No? Yeah.
Now he's processing this great game he likes. Girl protagonist. What's he gonna think? Now it's looking real pretty now, though.
Yep. The armor with the antlers on it.
Don't worry, chat. It's gonna be a pain.
So the last one was based on some historical stuff, so is this one too?
Now, chat, it's a lady, so probably not.
Be very interested to see what the fans have to say.
There we go.
Should be very interesting. There it is. Got a gun in it too, huh?
Now that doesn't seem historically accurate either, chat. Does he say anything else? I forget.
Announcing today was one. You enjoyed my reaction, hit the like button, subscribe.
Oh, we just got to hit the like button and subscribe. But it was so fun trying to figure out which side he should be on, chat. It was crazy. Iran wants Trump dead? Now that's crazy. Who would have known that? Right next to Mortal Kombat 1 reaction. We love Tyrone for being great and eclectic. What the fuck is that? Is that a bug on my goddamn screen? No, it's a piece of fluff, chat, but you never know these things. We could watch this great Craft Dwarf video, cross them off our list of catch-ups. We got animals in The Last of Us. I feel like I want to avoid The Last of Us because I might get sucked back into other, like, I'm supposed to be in a Berserk mindset right now, chat. Now, I don't think we have any Berserk videos in this shitty playlist, so let's scroll down to about 500 and then control Berserk and see if we've got anything. Don't go to Brisbane, uh-oh. Oh, we accidentally went to 600. Now, what did I just say? Berserk. The Price of Power, lame. Berserk's first attempt at a video game, don't care. I wrote an ending for Berserk, don't care. No good Berserk videos ever have been made, so that's why we gotta do it, chat. Now, fuck it, let's go down to 1,000, because I'm curious. Berserk. Oh, we got 8 now. The Fall of Griffith, How Berserk Will End. That doesn't seem too interesting. Guts' realizations and more over analyzing Berserk. Now, Guts has some realizations. The final war begins. Can I get... No, because I'm logged on the wrong account. Predictions before Berserk ends. The grim reality of Berserk's conclusion. All these shitty ending videos that I don't give a fuck about. Yuck. Anyway, there's like 3 videos I want to watch the first minute of to see if they're good.
We all know and love the story of Berserk, and with it being my favorite manga and story of all time.
Alright, so in this video I'll be covering chapter 177 of the Berserk manga, which starts the Millennium Falcon arc of the series and ultimately is a vital chapter in the overall story of Berserk, primarily because...
Is anime... This is the one, chat. Is anime becoming political? We'll never know.
The question on many...
Wait, we know this voice. Either me or Alita already reacted to one of these videos
anime
before.
fans' minds as of late. Has anime become political? As the world becomes more and more interconnected and we're exposed to more of other nations' culture.
True. That's the question on everybody's mind.
That is cut from the anime
Oh my god, pronouns in the bio. Now we have hope for this video all of a sudden. The Anywave shut situation explained. Is this the one we watched? Oh, was this... I feel like we didn't like this video, right? That's funny, because I think that is the video we probably watched. Deku and Subaru, portrayals of self-worth. True, they both just hate themselves or something. The failures of Deku's Vigilante arc. The failures of My Hero Academia's War arc. You know, Alita, you keep telling me 5 out of 5, but everybody else keeps telling me My Hero Academia fucking sucks.
Than ever. Some people worry that their favorite method of
This is like... That's like one of my... one of the great... things people say in videos, chat. The world is getting more interconnected. Attention spans are going. Yes, very smart. I gotta go, I'll be back. Unbelievable.
Escapism is slowly incorporating elements of real-world issues into it.
True. Art is supposed to be escapism, and now they're trying to merge the real life with it, and it's pissing me off, chat. Japan without political correctness. Those Japanese, man. How anime beat Disney. Now that's crazy. Anime/manga, there's being political and then there's being political. 89 views. That's epic. Now, I guess I kind of agree with this sentiment, but this is not a comment on any video shown. It's simply a visual for the video. True, that's what I be doing.
Material.
I think sometimes, you know, especially when you see this a lot in Japanese
Is One Piece the most political anime ever made? Yes.
manga, sometimes authors will put shit in there just because it looks cool.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Right? Sometimes it's it's like, you know.
It is funny how fucking retarded these 3 morons are, and how much it's really annoying. If you've ever watched a clip of this show, now Bacon likes this show, right? I'm sure he's got big defenders. Watching Giga, like I watched Giga react to that same video we reacted to about like the the best anime opening of every year or whatever, because I was like, oh fuck it, I'll watch that video again, and Gigik's here. And you know, I used to like Gigik. I used to love the Great Podtaku. It's not like I hate Gigik or anything, but the point is he's a fucking moron, and you can even see it in the way he talks that he doesn't really know anything, and like the way he explains all of his points is like, it's literally like worse than Tyrone. It's like terrible. This guy's like a personality guy. I think the ladies like this guy because of his voice and stuff. And then maybe the anime man knows stuff, but it seems like on this podcast, like, they've heard about My Hero Academia, and then the anime man's over here saying, you know, Revolutionary Girl Utena, I've heard of that show. And it's like, sure. But then, you know, chat, I like the great YouTubers, the real YouTubers, who know a bunch of crazy shit, like Shabes and Brigagoon or whatever the fuck, and now we all want to watch the great Brigagoon. These guys don't know about the great Brigadoon or whatever it's called. Anyway.
No, the curtain.
Like, there's one clip they have of Gunbuster that, like, comes up whenever you say, and, like, none of them have seen it, and they're just like, oh, yeah, that's, like, that other thing Hideaki Anno worked on. What was its name again? Oh, Gunbuster, that's right. It's just like,
blue kind of, like, argument. Sometimes you
these are the most popular anime idiots, chat.
look at something and it's a reference to some Western media or Western history, and a lot of the times it's just Japanese.
Also, he's talking about Hideaki Anno here because this is the thing people like. There was already, when I got into the anime community, a counter jerk wave against Evangelion's imagery, where there was like obviously before like 2012 or whenever I got on YouTube, there was like this Evangelion's so cool, it has all this great Christian imagery, and they're actually referencing the great, and like all these biblical readings into it. And then there is like one quote of Anno just saying, and I think the actual like quote is like him saying why he chose to use a lot of Christian imagery and like references, and he just said because it's cool, basically. Which basically made everybody go, this fucking idiot's never read the Bible in his life, he doesn't know anything about it, and he just thought it looked cool. And, because obviously Evangelion fans be like, Evangelion's so smart, brother. And for the guy to go, it's just cool. And then it's like a big, if you hate Evangelion, which there was a big Evangelion hate wave because it was boring and because Shinji was a pussy in those early anime YouTuber days. Giga could probably chiefly responsible for making that into a very popular video back in the day. And it's just like, this is probably where this is coming from. Like, I've heard him say this for 12 years or something. But it's now he's just like, that probably misunderstood Anno quote he's trying to project onto a bunch of other things, so it's just funny. The thing is, Joey is just a contrarian, Gigik is just r/anime, and Connor feels like he barely interacts with anime. Now that's epic. That's this guy's name, Connor. I'm a genius. Now, I feel like r/anime is smarter than Gigik, though. But Gigik has just seen all the shows on r/anime, I think.
People find Western things that find Western things cool.
It's
you know?
too many.
Oh, and I was gonna say this at the beginning. I didn't realize this was the episode literally Hassan was on. But this is like, One Piece being the most political anime is like, it comes from the community, right? Because Hassan started watching it and he liked One Piece, or eventually ended up liking One Piece, and obviously you can read in a lot of like ACAB stuff into One Piece. Now you can also not read that in, because and we always joke about what's going to happen when the Marines are still around at the end of One Piece, and the goal wasn't actually to get rid of them all, and that like it's like going to be like you need these two fundamental chaos and order things in the One Piece world, pirates and the coppers. And it's like, oh, I can't wait for that. But they'll probably just read around that or whatever. And then One Piece has a bunch of things about revolution, but then it's not really. It's like the Martin Luther King character is still supposed to be the good one, right? Hiro Shoshi or whatever. Anyway, Nate told me about it one time. I know everything about Fishman Island.
Cool,
It's
you know?
too many.
This video aims to
Also,
address
weird cut.
one sole question: is anime political? Stop writing that comment. This video is going to dive into art, history, anime, and of course, politics. Politics were invented in 1998 by John Politics when he said that feminism was okay, I guess. Or actually, sorry, it turns out it's been a thing for like ever. A lot of people have had different definitions of the word politics, but
That was halfway funny. Now, his narration style is... It's not bad. It's like, it's not cunty. But it's somewhere in between those two things. And it's kind of dry. It kind of sounds like Moist Critical now that I think about it. That joke was almost good, but he didn't commit to it with his voice. Anyway.
what everyone can traditionally agree on is that it's always been here, and usually at its base level refers to things that people do when it comes to making decisions.
He sounds a lot like the Professor Viral guy.
in a group, things like distribution of resources or status. As the greatest scholar of our time would put it, a lot of things in the modern day get accused of being political, and when they say that, they aren't referring to the distribution of status or resources. They are referencing something relating to hot-button political topics. Of course, this is a very narrow-minded way to look at
You know, we call this the culture war stuff, you know, women. That's what we're actually talking about. Now, we're making a bunch of sweeping statements. We'll see.
Politics, because one,
this seems like an impossible thing to even begin to, like, unless you're literally pause and select or something, I don't think anybody should be making this video.
your nation's politics are not the only ones that are occurring, and it's very possible something political is referring to something that you are not aware of. And because of that, politics are really everywhere. To understand politics, you have to strip this connotation away from it. Because
Now, there are a million different interesting conversations you can have about this. There's, like, the thing that, even I was guilty of saying this a lot, where I was like, everything's political, which is true, but it's also, like, a sweeping statement that means nothing, basically, if you just say that and don't branch into anything. Because we used to talk about that with the Attack on Titan stuff, about how people would be like, stop making it political or whatever. Actually, everything's political. But then it's just, I don't know. There is an interesting push and pull with that phrase, which seems lightly what he's touching on, but I don't think that's what the video is going to be about. Basically prefacing that I'm pretty sure this video is not going to be too interesting.
politics is not
Or
something
well-researched or anything like that.
you do like three kids in a trench coat doing business. Politics is your everyday life. It leads to the things you can or cannot do, and massively impacts or defines your existence. By having your license
Also, I don't... this is kind of true, and, like, sometimes people weaponize this in political arguments on the internet, where it's like, to everything, the idea of politics doesn't affect them at all. Like, if you ask anybody and you're like, oh, how does politics affect your life? They're not going to have any answers for it. Or they'll just disregard it, like, politics doesn't matter, nothing ever changes, etc., etc. Well, that's very much not true, but the perception of that being true is almost more important, because... And then in the contrary to that is, like, an internet argument, sometimes, like, it'll be, like, two white people arguing, and they'll be like, you only have the privilege to say that politics doesn't matter and nothing ever changes because you're not a woman, and you're not gonna get your abortions banned. But even, like... It's just, you can never change the perception of that. It's just like in Queensland recently, they made, like, all of the train fares, like, 50 cents because, like, the Labour government is clearly going out and they're trying to do anything to maybe win an election. And it's like, that's something that, like, massively does affect people's lives and stuff. But I don't think it's going to change any political realities. I don't think suddenly the Labour government is going to win. It's just sort of a swing that always happens where they're going to swing back the other way because people are generally disenfranchised by a bunch of things. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with this and I got lost, so...
in driving down the road, you may not be consciously engaging in politics, but the actions you are taking by conforming to these regulations is by virtue political, because
True.
there are policies in place that keep you on the road and keep your license updated. Maybe not the best example, but you get what I mean. The decisions that politicians make form your life, and by
I mean, the example I used to say in the Attack on Titan days was like, soon taking a shit will be political or whatever, and it's like, well, actually, if you think about it, the way that they assume from your house and how it goes into the pipes and how that's managed and where it ends up and, you know, infrastructure and stuff is political.
by engaging in that life, you are engaging in politics. Politics has become a dirty word in recent history, and hell, maybe even a long time ago, but I wasn't
But yeah,
around.
it's also, like, missing the point. It's kind of like a bad faith sweeping critique to just say everything's political, shut up. Because obviously they're addressing something. And usually attacking it head on, trying to figure out what they mean by politics makes them look even worse, because usually it is, like, women or representation. And, you know, it's just a smarter strategy.
It's become intertwined with family feuds, corruption, and scandals. When people say it, they are usually attaching it negatively to something because of these ways of viewing political actions. But realistically, politics is something you engage in every single day of your life. Now,
And also, the perception of, like, political things is a lot different. Because, like, political canvassing, I don't think anybody's like, stop your politics. Because it's not like GTA 6 is going to come out and there's going to be well, it's going to come out way after the election, but there's not going to be, like, exclusively vote for Kamala shit in it. Now that I say that out loud, I'm vaguely remembering that something like that might have happened with Obama at some point, which would be funny. But that's usually what people not what people mean. Again, it's just like, it usually comes down to woke shit and representation, which is funny. Because really, truly, that doesn't even matter. Even though I would definitely be on the side of, well, representation probably is, in the minutiae important, like, representation isn't going to affect race relations too much. Like, there's obviously bigger things to focus on. But yeah, it's even like everybody's very riled up about this one topic that has no real effect. Whereas the fucking train thing I mentioned does have a real effect, but nobody cares. It's funny.
Now is when we get to the very divisive question, scratching at the back of everyone's mind right now. Does Japan have politics? Yeah, it turns out they have a lot. They've actually
Now, this is also a thing because there was from like 2014 to like 2018, there was like a big, because like, that's when the SJW, and the first wave of the anti-SJW stuff, when we used to call it anti-SJW stuff and not anti-wokeism or whatever, was coming up, was that like, oh, anime's like a safe haven because comics have been fully infested with fucking feminism, and video games slowly became that with all the female protagonists now, and the Concord is woke and died because of it, etc., etc. And it's like, well, anime's our last bastion, and just like Stellar Blade is like a Korean game or whatever, Asia doesn't care about sexualizing women, you know, they didn't have this. And then there was the counter jerk wave, which was sort of pedantic romantic, and Zarya and Pause and Select, I'm pretty sure, and probably Krastorf pitched in. They all were like, well, actually, like, there's massive feminist movements. They always have been in Japan. You're retarded. Kill yourself. Which was true. Those people didn't know shit about Japan, were just looking at the media. But then there is also a counter to that, which is like, but it really isn't the same. Like, Stellar Blade does exist, and that would never exist in a Western games media environment. Industry environment, not media environment. Perhaps because of the media, but whatever. Like, there are still very overtly sexualized women and stuff in most Japanese animes, or at least probably not in kids shows and shit like that. But so it is like different. There is a clear difference, I think, an observable difference. So it's kind of missing the point, but it's just like annoying because then it concedes to a layer one argument, really.
Had a few disagreements over the years, you could say. What is also important is that Japan enjoys arts. Wait, what's the correlation? Back during the Heian era, Sukuna had a bunch of bullshit techniques.
I'm not a Japanese historian. I'm probably wrong about the details, but that's not changed the overall point. True, I should start putting this in all my videos.
But also, this was a very influential period for Japanese art history and Japanese history in general. This was when Japan was slowly breaking away from the massive cultural influence of China. There used to be a thing referred to as Kentoshi, or the envoy to Tang China. The objective of Japan was to learn about Chinese culture, studying Buddhism, ways of governing, and so much more. What we know as China these days essentially had the most weight to throw around as a cultural influence in Asia. Some of these exports would manifest in things like the Taika Reform, written by Emperor Kotoku in the year 645, which centered around, as Wikipedia puts it, the Chinese writing system, literature, religion, and architecture, to even dietary habits at this time. Eventually, these cultural exports were suspended, and without the mass injection of Chinese culture, Japan entered a new era of cultural growth, known as Kokufu Bunka.
Oh my god, Aliari's back and he's linking a tweeter. What could this mean? Oh my god. Aura, get pregnant. You're pregnant. And that's how I was born. Now, who do you think this character is supposed to be? Is it supposed to be Himeno, Fumiko, or Isa? Probably Fumiko, right? Aliari thinks this is terrific because it's all the wacky uwu Chainsaw Man girls, including the ear girl, all in one image. And Aliari loves that stuff. Personally, I'm disgusted. Now that's politics right there, that lesbianism we just saw. They be trying to tell you lesbian girls can have babies nowadays. Unbelievable.
This was an explosion of many facets of Japanese culture that still exist to this day, and many unique works of art would be produced as the people of 9th and 10th century Japan find their cultural footing. Of course, it's not as simple as going, I think I'm gonna invent a new culture. Because the things imported from China were still very influential in how Heian-era Japanese culture developed. Amitism being a particular Buddhist.
I guess the problem here, to go back to what I was talking about, was like, they've asked a retarded question, which is, or made a retarded statement. Anime's not political, it's our last bastion. And then the response is, you've sort of got to do the legwork for them to have any sort of an argument that's going to matter at all. Because obviously this is all probably true. Now, not obviously, because I don't know, and I don't trust this guy's research at all. But, obviously politics is probably in a bunch of Japanese stuff, it just manifests differently. But the thing asked by the original thing, and the thing the original person asking the question is going to care about, is bitches. And LGBT stuff, and it's like, well, then you can like hit them with the yaoi stuff and or the shota stuff or whatever. I'm forgetting my Japanese terms here, Chad, but all the same-sex and relationship stuff in manga and stuff. But even then, that's going to be different because it's like niche fetishized stuff, and there is like a kind of interesting argument that can be had there, but then it's not going to happen, you know?
Buddhist import that spread from India to China in the 4th century, and then to Japan by the 9th. The Amida Buddha statue was created by someone named Jocho, otherwise known as one of, if not the best Buddhist sculptor in Japanese history, and that cultural influence can be found in the statue created by him in 1053. With the cutting off of Chinese culture, Japan would also develop Manyogana, a system that used Chinese characters to represent the Japanese language. This is what spawned the alphabets of hiragana and katakana. Hiragana being something that women were made to use while men
Elite can read all this right now. That's crazy.
Characters before hiragana would be recognized as an official writing method in the Heian era and integrated into the use of kanji. The Tale of Genji is a particular work written in the early 11th century that can be used to glean a lot of historical context about their way of being at the time. It follows Hikaru Genji, someone described as a genius and the second son of an emperor and a concubine. So, for political reasons, of course, Genji
I
was
feel like this is all too vague and brief to be interesting from a historical context, and from points context, nobody cares. So really, this part of the video should have been a few lines about how a bunch of political stuff happened and influenced a bunch of way Japanese media works. Are you waiting for Jujutsu Kaisen 171? We've got AntKit 6000 asking this question. I have not seen or read any Jujutsu Kaisen, so maybe this person is asking Elite RE because, you know, well, he's not even caught up. Maybe Heath is caught up on Jujutsu Kaisen, who knows? Carl's actually waiting. Shut up, Heath. Don't tease. I bet Heath is caught up on Jujutsu Kaisen.
Booted from the royal family, renamed to Minamoto, and forced to be a commoner. You can pick up on interesting tidbits, like, according to many people, the reason why the characters in this story generally have no name is because the court manners at the time deemed it very rude or off-putting to just say someone's given name, instead referring to them by their position in the courts or just by the color of their clothes. The general setting, of course, also being the Heian era of Japan, also means that there are a lot of cultural norms or political issues that ring similar to their time. Post-World War II Japan was dominated by conservative politics following the US military occupation of it from 1948 to 1952. Due to Japan getting a little silly during the war, the United States had Japan surrender sovereignty over Okinawa as a method of military power projection for the US and Asia, and even Japan's conservative leaders at the time, like Yoshida Shigeru, would describe the US Cold War demands as excessive. Near the end of the occupation in 1951, the US would propose a treaty that allowed the US to use forces based in Japan without actually consulting the leaders of the nation, and they also made no explicit promise to defend Japan if Japan were attacked, and even put forward a clause that allowed US troops to intervene in Japanese domestic disputes. This treaty would eventually be replaced in 1960.
That's funny in retrospect. I don't know about anything like after 1945 in any sort of Japanese-American history. It's funny because I wonder if they have explicit guarantees nowadays. I assume they do because obviously Japan and America are like big allies, especially against like China. But that's probably not what they were worried about at the time. They were probably worrying about Japan falling apart and becoming crazy again. That's funny.
After the massive protests known as the Anpo protests, as the issues with US occupation were starting to become bipartisan between the Japanese left and right, and tensions skyrocketed right before the 60s began as the people of Japan feared they would be locked into a Cold War conflict. The conservative politician Nobusuke Kishi, the prime minister at the time, called 500 police officers into the chambers to have lawmakers
If
oppose
that
the treaty
fella can
removed
become
from the
prime
Kishi,
minister, chat, you can do anything. Look at this ugly bloke.
The prime minister at the time called 500 police officers into the chambers to have lawmakers
Heath says he is, and that's caught up on Jujutsu Kaisen.
who oppose this treaty removed from the premises. The massive protests would have multiple goals per Wikipedia: the prevention of the ratification of the new treaty, the resignation of Nobusuke Kishi, and the cancellation of the visit from US President Dwight D. Eisenhower, and they got just about everything they wanted. This large-scale sweeping movement was largely a left-wing movement, becoming affiliated with 1,600
Okay, this is funny. I didn't know about any of this turmoil.
organizations, including labor unions, farmers and teacher unions, poetry circles, theater troops, student and women's organizations,
See, when we're not talking about ancient Japan, it gets interesting.
some other groups
Now,
being
hold on, what are we
from
talking
US
about?
President
Well, if it's a leftist sort of uprising, then yeah, I would care about sort of... Maybe we're getting back on track, more wokish politics.
Dwight D. Eisenhower, and they got just about everything they wanted. This large-scale sweeping movement was
A scrum at the rostrum of the National Diet Japanese Socialist Party Diet members attempt to prevent Speaker of the lower house, that bloke, from calling a vote extending the Diet while being restrained by police officers. Now that's crazy.
largely a left-wing movement, becoming affiliated with 1,600 organizations, including labor unions, farmers and teacher unions, poetry circles, theater troops, student and women's organizations, mother groups, groups affiliated with Japan's socialist and communist parties, while some conservatives clung to America's influence in Japan. Tatsuo Ikeda is a famous Japanese avant-garde artist known for creating art that is relevant to post-war Japan, and a paper by Linda Hoagland titled Protest Art in Anti-Fascist Japan would bring up some of Ikeda's work that reflected Japanese sentiment at the time of US occupation. Ikeda would draw American soldier child barracks after visiting American military bases, a comment on the women in post-war Japan that turned to occupation soldiers for financial support, as most of the men in their lives were now dead from the war. Quote, "More than anything, I am anti-war. The Korean War was a foreign war, but I felt it was inevitable that Japan would get dragged into it, and that is what terrified me." His fear was not unfounded, for we know now that the United States was exerting great pressure on the Japanese government to rebuild ground forces quickly enough so that they could be deployed in Korea. In resisting this pressure,
I didn't know. I know very little about Korea. I just heard Don Draper was there, chat. But I didn't know there was the Japanese people fighting in Korea.
Prime Minister Yoshida Shigeru used the popular protests in Japan to explain why this was politically impossible so soon after the war. This piece would couple the sentiment of
Oh,
Ikeda
maybe
remarking
they
how
did.
the US expects Japan to resurrect the dead to fight a war.
Hold on, I'm curious. Hey, I'm trying to search things up here. Korean War. Let's read the thing. This is the Kyle Entertainment Research Stream. Part of the Cold War and Korean conflict was an armed conflict on the Korean Peninsula fought between North Korea and South Korea and their allies. North Korea was supported by the People's Republic of China and the Soviet Union, while South Korea was supported by the United Nations Command, led by the United States, fighting in the... Do we have a list? I want to see a list. All right, here we go. Is Japan here? I don't see them. They successfully stayed out of it, I guess. We got the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Turkey, Australia, Philippines, New Zealand, Thailand, Ethiopia, Greece, France, all of them. And then just, the outnumbered commies over here. Lots of commanders over here. Winston Churchill is still around at this point? No, he's not. I thought this idiot died while he was in office or something. Nope, till 55. Wait, he was Prime Minister then? What's going on? Oh, he was also in office here. There you go. Now, who's the British guy that was around for World War One? Sometimes I get him confused, chap. Well, anyway, the Japanese win again.
They have no involvement politically impossible so soon after the war. This piece would couple the sentiment of Ikeda's remarking how the US expects Japan to resurrect the dead to fight a war they have no involvement in. Lots of Japanese art speaks to the circumstances of occupied Japan, and a few years after this, crew members of the Lucky Dragon No. 5 tuna crawler were exposed to nuclear fallout from a thermonuclear bomb test conducted by the United States. This would serve as a flashpoint all across Japan as they worried about the threat of nuclear annihilation. Ikeda would paint 10,000 counts in reference to this event, and would argue he, quote, wanted to express himself as a painter, to express his protest that way, end quote. The title referring to a Geiger counter reading, and buried fish. He also wrote, quote, I see vividly now the fear the victims of the Lucky Dragon felt towards the hydrogen bombs. It makes the nerves rattle, invisible needles riding the wind mixed with the tide drifting in and out, killing and decomposing organisms at unexpected times and in unexpected places. These are the ghosts of the 20th century. No, this will end worse than ghosts, end quote. While it's easy with context to say that Ikeda's art is outwardly political, with no context and to the uneducated eye, that might not be so obvious. A pertinent example is Godzilla, one of the most recognizable symbols of Japanese pop culture worldwide, a franchise
I guess this is things that, without removed from the context, don't seem inherently political, which is maybe if I tie this back into what modern anime is or something, that would be interesting.
from the Japanese fear of atomic bombs.
I don't know if we are.
Stemming from the same
Is this true, or is this a new age, the Godzilla is actually about the bomb?
Incident that spurred Ikeda into action to create these paintings, and many people are likely none the wiser. Even if the author of Godzilla had not intended it, which I'm not sure if they did or not, a giant monster coming out
there you go.
of irradiated Japan shortly after the bombings of World War II and the test bombs of Lucky Dragon No. 5 gives you insight into the fears of Japan at that time. Even if art itself is not outwardly political, simply examining the circumstances of its creation can give insight into the author's mind. No matter what, art is created via political means and are circumstances of society, because art is like a snapshot in time. It will be a creation of circumstance. Every
Art
single
exists in a context, chat.
value we hold pushes us into making certain
That's what the Madam President told me.
choices, even if the value and choice don't seem intertwined. I speak about this in my video purely about isekai, which probably sounds crazy to hear, but 9/11 also had a particular effect on American literature, seeing a tremendous uptick in apocalyptic fiction, as the attacks on that day felt like a mirage of safety and optimism had come crashing down around the average American, and as the years went on and people had the time to look back and introspect over the effects of the attacks on not just the people themselves, but the nation's politics. A common argument against this type of thinking is, well, what if I grabbed a pile
Oh, I want to read the silly comment.
over the effects
The
of the attacks
comic, I
on
mean.
not just the people themselves, but the nation's politics? A common
I personally do not like modern art. Dude, I'm a fucking goblin. I don't care. Take your shit and then I'll kill you. Well, that's epic.
argument against this type of thinking is, well, what if I grabbed a pile of my own shit and threw it at the wall like an ape and called it art, and ironically, that in
True, modern art bad. Modern art
itself is a
bad.
piece critical of the state of modern art. In an attempt to prove that art has no messaging, you've included a message, as no matter what, art will say something about the world, even if it's not the world today. Well, I just spoke for a few minutes about Japanese art and history. What does this have to do with anime exactly? Well, unless you disagree with the idea that anime is art, why would anime be an exception that some people like to claim? That's enough about vague Japanese history. Let's talk about anime's history. If we go back really far, you'll find some definite political influence in extremely old anime. Pre-World War II, Japan would attempt to use this piece of art as a means of cultural influence, and Jonathan Clements would note in his book Anime History that in the 1930s, Japanese animators were urged to produce anime that enforced the Japanese spirit and national affiliation.
Propaganda, chat. Oh my
There we
goodness.
go. Even the roots of Japanese anime were overtly political. Post-war Japan would see a lot of cultural imports as well as exports from the United States due to occupation at the time. 1940s and 1950s Japan would see a flourishing of anime and manga, taking lots of inspiration from US media. Continuing the anti-occupation trend of its time, an anime film known as Muko no Ki no Hanasi would capture the general feeling of US occupation at the time, depicting it as an unwelcome season that would soon pass. Osamu Tezuka is one of those people that would be deeply impacted by the US's influence on Japan, a man known as the father of manga, or the Japanese equivalent of Walt Disney. Tezuka would be massively influenced by the exported media he had seen, people describing aspects of his style influenced by Hollywood, like his, quote, deep focus cinematography and big eyes, end quote, which he got from Disney movies. Of course, he did not just make American movies, but he would create a blend of Japanese and American media, including very Japanese aspects like the
What is this Astro Boy that looks good?
glorification of self-sacrifice that Japan held. Influence comes from all walks of life, like we mentioned earlier. They create a snapshot of people's values and circumstances. Occupation was a clear influence. Japanese self-sacrifice was another, and yet another would be due to his mother's embrace of the arts, often taking him to romantic musicals aimed at a female audience that would influence his character designs going forward. Living life during World War II Japan and experiencing post-war Japan and the threats of nuclear annihilation, it's no secret where Tezuka would get his value of the preciousness of life. Quote, "Our beautiful, glass-like Earth, so easily shattered, floats in the loneliness of the vast universe. Against this unending blackness of the depth of the universe, how beautiful this planet of water is. Perhaps it represents the world of mysticism itself. If just once we could be witness to that vast universe, it may be that we would never want to harm our precious air, water, greenery, or our oceans ever again." End quote. U.S. influence has always been present in anime, from its initial inception to the...
I mean, general Japanese ideas of, like, environmentalism, like at the end here, when he's just talking about that or whatever, is another thing you could is political and in probably in a Western context would be seen as like global warming political stuff, or as it seems to just be a part of Japanese culture.
The works of Tezuka, the release of Star Wars also heavily influenced anime, for better or for worse. Even without US influence, it's not as if the entire nation of Japan and its 125 million are so infantile that they didn't have their own political thoughts and biases. The aforementioned Godzilla, which was in large part inspired by nuclear fears at the time, Miyazaki and his distaste for exploitation and environmental damage, isekai as a genre being spawned from the horrid working and material conditions of Japan in recent times. For some reason, Japan has garnered a reputation outside of Japan that has...
True, every isekai is about how work sucks.
The entire nation being largely infantilized, some people becoming entirely deluded by assumptions they make about the country. There is in fact an entire strategy created by the Japanese government known as Cool Japan, following in the footsteps of Cool Britannia. It was an initiative to expand Japan's soft power as they were no longer legally able to expand hard power.
Have you ever heard about this before, chat, in a YouTube video?
Attempting to spread popular aspects of Japanese culture to the rest of the world, and to improve its image after its imperialist history pre-World War II. Weeaboos have fallen hook, line, and sinker for Japan's cultural reframing. Of course, pre-World War II was some time ago, but that doesn't change that Japan is picking and choosing what of its culture it chooses to put out, attempting to sweep any of the bad parts under the rug or outright denying they ever happened, like the Nanjing Massacre. In 2007, 100 Liberal Democratic Party members claimed it was a fabrication. A few years later, the governor of Tokyo would deny it happened, and say that it would have been impossible to kill that many people, and according to English Wikipedia, Japanese Wikipedia has been criticized for promoting denialist or revisionist narratives about the Nanjing Massacre. As recently as 2022, in a continued effort to ooh-ify itself, Japan straight up deleted the military's role in comfort women from its textbooks.
This is also a new thing, because sometimes you'll get the bread tubing attacks anime thing, and they always bring up all this, like, well, we got this in the Attack on Titan fandom too, right? Thing of war crime.
Any and all mention of forceful relocation was also removed. For those unfamiliar, comfort women were women that were forced into sexual slavery by Imperial Japan. The nation regularly utilizes rhetoric similar to the lost cause of the Confederacy, conveniently sweeping under the rug the reason why Japan had suffered so much during World War II, and instead it tried to paint their actions during the war as just. The nation has undergone decades of serialization of their national history, projecting their soft power to other parts of the world through the use of their cool and fun video games or their silly and unique anime, to the point that to some weebs, they have completely wiped the slate clean and are just a victim to the nations around them. Not to imply that Japan wasn't a victim at times in history, because it definitely was, but the issues Japan faces now are of its own accord, and are not bred purely out of soft power projection of other nations. Many of the current people in power right now are affiliated with the
say of their own accord
around them. Not to imply that Japan wasn't a victim at times in history, because it definitely was, but the issues Japan faces now are of its own accord, and are not bred purely out of soft power projection of other nations. Many of the current people in power right now
I don't know about that.
Are affiliated with the Pankaigi, an organization which firmly believes that the 1946 to 1948 Tokyo War Crimes Tribunal was illegitimate. Japan has been held in a conservative death grip by an ever-aging government, dubbed the Silver Democracy. This trend has led young progressive voters to feeling disenfranchised, growing disillusioned with Japan's political system, and they simply stop showing up, as the age gap, student organization bans, and continued lack of work-life balance drive them to become disinterested. You can make the claim that the US is influencing all of Japan if you want, but the reality of the situation is that the people of Japan, the people that actually live there, aren't exactly happy with the way things are. Despite the nation itself not recognizing same-sex marriages, according to the Washington Post using Sankei Shimbun statistics, 71% of Japanese people support same-sex marriage, and 91% of people ages 18 to 29 are in support. Professor of Sociology Kiyotaro Tsutsui from Stanford also found that a majority of respondents were supporting more men taking parental leave, supporting increasing the number of female politicians, executives, and board members. They were not supportive of traditional gender roles, the highest majority yet disapproving of the statement, men should work outside the home and women should stay home, and boys should be raised to be manly and girls should be raised to be womanly. A lot of the Japanese public dislikes the very thing that American conservative anime fans wish.
Now that stuff is more important to the eventual argument you're probably going to be having about politics.
Hold on to
in media, that is.
No.
Guys, it's anime's fault people don't know about the World War II atrocities and not the fact that it all happened in Asia while the West was focused on Europe. It is true. It is like the... Now, obviously, this is an anime channel, and they're probably annoyed by general weeb stuff. So I could see myself at some point in the past doing that monologue, but yeah, it is funny. It's just like, fucking, you idiots just think anime is real. Japan actually killed and raped Korea and China and the Philippines and all of that in World War II. Bet you didn't know about the rape of Nanking.
Seeing a Japanese tweet with 10,000 likes doesn't mean all Japan might as well join the Confederacy. Twitter is not real life, that's just confirmation bias. You can find the same rhetoric being used on Japanese Twitter, and this one tweet came across my timeline where a Japanese illustrator made note of how people on Japanese Twitter try to make it sound like the West is unanimously in favor of AI-generated art, but they can find all kinds of tweets of Westerners not enjoying it. Jumpscare warning. Japan is just like any other nation on Earth, with its own political issues, its own wide spectrum of people, and its own circles of the internet, but yeah, SJWs did it or something. In fact, some of the most popular manga and anime of our time are openly anti-conservative or anti-establishment. One Piece is the biggest manga in the world, for God's sake, and has a large part of anti-establishment politics baked into it from my understanding. Vinland Saga is openly
He hasn't read One Piece. Epic.
against traditional gender norms, is anti-slavery, and is also anti-war. Spy Family is about stopping a far-right
I love all the great anime that are pro-slavery. Vinland Saga, it depends how you think about it. Could be like the most progressive thing or the most progressive thing. Like, I like to think, like, what would the thematic embodiment of Vinland Saga or any anime be? What would their, like, the principles in which they preach? How would you apply that to Israel versus Palestine? And almost always it would be, like, against Palestine, I think. And obviously a lot of lefties are very pro-Palestine, so it would, it would contradict them entirely. And you can do that to any, like, major political thing, especially, like, or even to Ukraine and Russia and stuff like that. It's like, well, Thorfinn would probably tell those Ukrainians to just run away. And it's like, well, that's pretty funny.
right ultranationalist political party. Jujutsu Kaisen has Gojo gender norms, is anti-slavery, and is also anti-war. Spy Family is about stopping a far-right ultranationalist political party. Jujutsu Kaisen has Gojo saying fuck the conservatives every 30 seconds until he kills all of them. My Hero Academia continually criticizes the older generation and calls him simplistic.
But I feel like this is making the same mistake that people who accuse Japan of not having politics in their shit. It's like, and it's also a time when you get to intentionality and you try to apply these things. Where it's like, I don't know anything about Jujutsu Kaisen, but it's probably like, oh, the old people in power are bad, and that Gojo guy wants to kill them all or something. And you can extrapolate to that to be the conservatives, but obviously conservative people extrapolate that to be like Democrats and shit in American politics and stuff like that, and how Donald Trump is actually the one getting rid of all the idiots in power that have done nothing over the last 20 years, etc., etc.
It insinuates that they do not understand the nuance and plight of the oppressed. Fujimoto.
And I don't think anybody is ever, oh my god, Fujimoto, we're reading into political things here. Oh, I guess we're just going to say he's pro-trans. But even then, all of the trans portrayals in especially Japanese like literature would probably be considered very offensive if they were to be done in Western literature. Even Togatsu, who I think he's about to bring up, especially the Vinland Saga one, and especially like One Piece would be like the most transphobic thing of all time with the way they portray like Mr. Two and shit. But yeah, it's just like, obviously there seems to be an idea of being trans in both cultures, but they seem to be very different ideas that have been born out of very different reactions to groups like attacking these groups. It's just, yeah.
Continually criticizes the older generation and calls them simplistic and insinuates that they do not understand the nuance and plight of the oppressed. Fujimoto has written about trans experiences a few times. Re:Zero is anti-racism and has multiple woke takes on gender identity. Bloom Into You is extremely popular, and it's a manga about two gay women coming to terms with a sense of identity and their own ideas of love. These are all heavy hitters. Feminism and LGBT issues.
But also, these people are just talking about like shonen, I think, when they do the animes and political, or they just mean it's refreshing that women are sexualized again.
Born 30 minutes ago because grr anime, and in fact has a studied and lengthy history in Japan. Feminism in Japan can be traced back to the start of the 20th century, though I'm sure it definitely exists before that, like with the Blue Stocking magazine. The New Women Association was founded in 1919, attempting to lift up women from their current status of the Taisho era, hoping to allow women to be involved in the nation's politics. Shortly after, the Red Wave came to be, an organization of women that was staunchly anti-capitalist, relating to how capitalism and patriarchal society exploited women. These organizations would have powerful standings, regularly pressuring the Japanese government, as well as taking part in multiple relief projects like after the Great Kanto earthquake. After years of fighting, women would finally get the right to vote on April 10th, 1946. That's really not that long ago when you think about it. During the Meiji period of Japan, the nation had extreme...
Didn't we look this up one time and Australia was like winning? First countries to give women the right to vote. We would have looked this up when I was watching Boardwalk Empire, because women get the right to vote in the middle of Boardwalk Empire. New Zealand? Yuck! Timeline of women's suffrage. This isn't going to be... Oh, here we go. Some women on the Isle of Man, geographically the part of British that was not part of the United, can gain the right to vote in 1981. We love the great progressive British. New Zealand was the first self-governed... Was New Zealand a country in 1800? There's no way they were a country before us too. We got to get rid of them. Frankly, I'm offended. In the world, which all women had the right to vote in parliamentary elections. However, women could not stand for the election... until 1919, when 3 women stood unsuccessfully. Like, stand as in to be voted for, or just to vote? The colony of South Australia allowed women to vote and stand for elections. So I guess stand means to be voted for. In 1850, I wonder if they momentarily lost the vote when we federated and then got it back later. That would be funny. Or did we give women the right to vote during federation? That would be... Oh, no, is it the next year? Enabled female British subjects resident in Australia to vote in elections to stand for Australia. Huh? What? 2 states effectively... Now, we didn't let the Indigenous Australians vote for a little while. You don't want to look that up. We're very bad on that one. I think that's the early 70s. Federal country, the first modern world to do so. So I think it is. Yeah, okay. But were people in Australia still calling themselves, I guess, British subjects? Which would be all Australians. Well, or maybe that's how they distinguished between the native people and the British people back then. Because we probably didn't have a lot of Italians and stuff yet. That probably comes after World War II. Anyway, we're winning. America sucks. In Saudi Arabia, women were first allowed to vote in December. I didn't know that. Where's the US shit? It's like the 20s. Anyway, we figured it out. I want to finish this video, but we're going flat.
Extremely strict publication laws.
Pornography.
Really not that long ago when you think about it. During the Meiji period of Japan, the nation had extremely strict publication laws, requiring all publications to go through pre-publication review and obtain approval from the Ministry of Education. This would be used as a cudgel by Imperial Japan to crush any kind of literature it deemed to be a threat to the nation, oftentimes targeting leftist, progressive, or feminist works, until the new constitution was instituted in 1946. I wonder where leftist influence was coming from in the 1940s. Surely the United States of America. Just because women gained the right to vote does not mean
that was America bad. We love that.
Done. Mitsu Tanaka is a notable example of a post-war feminist author who in the 1970s would write about how women have been turned into toilets, an object that is convenient for the fulfillment of a man's urges and aimed to deconstruct the household system. In the modern era, women are still facing issues. A few years ago, it was noticed that
that was an epic speech. I like that.
University was lowering all test scores for women because it was, quote, necessary evil since they get married or pregnant and resign, end quote. This caused people all around the nation to go to social media and go, hey.
This is like the anecdotal example is that like female Japanese wrestlers until like the mid-90s or maybe even after that weren't allowed to like, it was like an inbuilt policy in the organizations themselves that like, oh, once you turn like 26 or something, you have to retire and go be a housewife. It's like, well, that shows just how inbuilt these sort of ideas were even into like the mid-80s, early 90s.
Things are kind of weird, like this tweet where someone's manager asked a German if he was mad that his prime minister was a woman, or, quote, a woman with her middle school daughter said with a straight face, my daughter is a girl and there is discrimination in Japan, so I thought I'd send her abroad after all. It's hell for girls to study, work, and give birth in Japan, end quote. Of course, like we mentioned earlier, these are just tweets, but there are serious organizations out there that are still battling for women's rights, like the Women's Action Network or the Working Women's Network, and if you look at the raw data, things are still rough. 40.5% of women said that they don't want to date or marry because they do not want to compromise their freedom and independence, and women right now are fighting for the Kutu movement, attempting to fight mandatory high heels in workplaces. Just because you don't pay attention to Japanese news
that's crazy.
Doesn't mean it's not happening. What does make the Japanese outlook unique is that though women specifically want freedom from male decision-making, they don't necessarily feel that means that they have to relinquish established roles within familial structures. And of course, we should also mention the harsh roles that men are cast into, which the same study touches upon, that men are expected to succeed at work and support a family, to not cry or become emotional, and to show leadership, which a lot of people there are not fond of. If we look at this through the lens of feminism, you can see a stark difference in the way women are treated in fiction, which reflects the changing independence and social views of Japanese women, because as we established earlier, a lot of those views are injected into art whether intentional or not. This was a big thing I touched on quite some time ago in my How Modern Isekai Came to Be video, about the stories of Japanese citizens being worked to the bone, fearing nuclear annihilation, and facing isolation. People would turn to the stories that they feel empowers them, and there's no reason this wouldn't be the same for the people writing. More and more series are giving female characters...
I wonder what attitudes are like to general people in Japan about the work stuff, because goddamn are we getting hit over the head with this in every fucking YouTube video essay. I wonder if it's as much as like most people like on the street, if you ask them about in Japan, would be like, yeah, these pussies gotta work. What the fuck? I'm working. Hurry up and work, pussy. And it's just like the artists that are like, I'm sick of this, and drop out and then make a manga or something. Obviously, I have no fucking idea, but...
stronger roles like Witch Hat Atelier, or Freeman, or Lycra's Recoil, or so many other modern anime. There's also a growing number of LGBT-friendly anime like My Hero Academia, including openly gay or trans characters, or Bloom Into You and how it explores gay identity, or recent big hits like Windbreaker having a trans character and not playing it for a joke, or Gundam Witch of Mercury. These social issues have always been present and growing in modern-day Japan, whether it be the ever-increasing march of feminism, or the country's history with socialist movements, and saying otherwise is just a cheap way to deny the people of Japan their own autonomy, and it minimizes the harm that Japanese women and LGBT folk went through, and also continue to go through.
I am not from bureaucrats, I'm not a politician, so then automatically, it's difficult. Issues like climate change, diversity, the gender equality, of course, has been challenged by the kind of all the politics, or like, the boys' club.
In an online political landscape where you have a multitude of anti-woke, anti-SJW...
We hate men here. So we support this lady?
with collab.
In an online political landscape where you have a multitude of anti-woke, anti-SJW anime YouTubers who will just
It's just this one. This we don't like this Rev says Desu person.
jump at the chance to talk about any perceived slights
Shitty Asmongold, true.
towards Japanese culture or the harassment of Japanese creators. Naturally, it's crickets when it comes to a progressive Japanese person, as more and more anime YouTube content enjoyers inadvertently get pulled to the right to become useful idiots to a person who is exploiting your ignorance for monetary gain. There's also a fundamental question of, if art is supposed to have no meaning or doesn't affect real life, why are we so angry about wokeism in our shows? Why are we making
Yeah, the opposite side of this is, it's like, well, I guess both sides end up doing this, where it's sort of just like the thematic meanings about like, oh, friendship, and then like you can extrapolate that into political principles really easily, but it really just depends how it's portrayed and the vibe it gives off and shit like that.
rage bait videos every day about it? It's just a grift that they hope you won't question. In 2008, a French
God,
author
there's nothing that pisses me off more than people calling people grifters. It's so annoying to me. It's like, no, they're just retarded. Stop giving them an out.
known as Andy Erono wrote a book and described the ever-changing political landscape of the
And
world.
it shows such a lack of understanding for the other side. And I'm not even like an empathy guy that's like, you gotta understand them, and then we'll Attack on Titan ending them, and we'll be friends. It's just like, be smarter about it. Like, have a better idea of the full picture here. And then we can...
world. The rumor was going around that politics was dead. The advent of a
Get
new
'em
world
all.
order was declared. The end of the world. The rumor was going around that politics was dead. The advent of a new world order was declared. The end of history was nigh. The word struggle was
Is this in the
discredited as a dead.
90s?
Debate videos every day about it. It's just a grift that they hope you won't question. In 2008, a French author known as Andy Erono wrote a book
2008?
and described the ever-changing political landscape of the world. The rumor was going around that politics was dead. The advent
It is like the meme thing about like politics changed in 2013 when this fucking orange hair moron said that the Mexicans were killing everybody, that he was going to be the president. And it is kind of true, but then I feel like because like The Sopranos very much has this attitude at the beginning because it's at the late 90s, but then you can tell there's like a massive shift when 9/11 happens. And then it's like, well, then we sort of did that. And then it petered off, and everybody thought politics was dead again, and nobody cared. And then Trump happens, and now everybody cares, and everything's political again, or whatever. And maybe we'll go into, but it's been such a prolonged period of like, I guess it's only been, I guess it's been less than a decade of Trump in politics. So I don't know. If he loses again and then dies soon because he's fucking 80 or whatever, maybe we'll retreat back into politics not mattering or something for a few years, and then another big event will happen, and it'll just be a cycle.
of a new world order was declared. The end of history was nigh. The word struggle was discredited as a throwback to
Because The
Marxism,
Sopranos does the end of history thing a lot too.
becoming an object of ridicule. As for defending rights, the first that came to mind were those of the consumer. As Anton Yeager of Jacobin put it, she diagnosed a shuttered and claustral world in which people had retreated into privacy, where politics was relegated to the back burner while technocrats were in charge. She would discuss the political ice age of the fall of the Berlin Wall, an era that Anton would call a, quote, mixture of diffidence and apathy. But it's very clear that in the 2020s, that era of post-politics has come to an end. Mass national protests, record voter turnouts, and so much more. Gone are the days of avoiding politics with those in your life or attempting to claim being neither right nor left, and now are the times of hyper-politics of the modern era, making
I
or
mean,
breaking
people still do that, right? They just usually are right-wing when they're like, I'm not doing anything.
relationships based on political beliefs and newfound political extremism. George Orwell would once write that no book is genuinely free from political bias, and the opinion that art should have nothing to do with politics is itself a political attitude. Is everything political? Well,
True.
what is everything? Perhaps the furthest you can get away from politics is to look up at the heavens above that put on full display how truly insignificant we are.
But actually, the only reason you can see the heavens above is because of the political policies regarding pollution.
Even then, you're just one degree of separation away as the most powerful people on the planet work towards the colonization of those heavenly objects.
No.
Perhaps the act of taking
No, we're saying something stupider.
your shit isn't inherently political, but water-saving toilets mandated by the state might be. So too can the sewage infrastructure that is handled by city officials.
Oh my god, he stole my shit example.
Or the kind of bathroom you might be allowed or not allowed to use could be national news. A common counter-argument
I didn't even think about tying it to the trans issue. That's genius.
the inclusion of politics in art is that it somehow arbitrarily dates the art, as if that isn't something that happens globally already. You know, maybe Sam Raimi should have made Spider-Man because he wrapped up filming in June 2001, and then, something very notable happened immediately after, causing edits to the film to be made. Perhaps all those people should have made pieces of art related to World War II because eventually World War II will be old news.
Again, there's a difference because I feel like the World Trade Center thing is such an apolitical thing that everybody was like, well, that's a very sensitive subject and you should take it out. Whereas now, a similar attitude might be 50-50 because there would be a subsection of the left that was like, well, fucking if America didn't do this, that wouldn't have happened. And like, it would have continued and continued.
News, completely disregarding that at the time, World War II was all
We love the great Hassan clip regarding 9/11.
they knew. Perhaps all these highly stylized old animated movies shouldn't have been made because one day their technological advancements would become obsolete. Perhaps all of those slice-of-life animes shouldn't exist because what if one
True, it's like, I don't know what this weird, like, it'll be bad if you dated in politics thing.
day Japanese schools are replaced with liberal hypno warehouses?
Now this video kind of avoided doing the terrible thing where you equate, like, whether or not something is good or bad into the political discussion. But anyway,
The truth of the matter is that every single piece of art is by
we're kind of doing it now. But
virtue dated, and that's fine. Sometimes it's fun to look into the past via art. It's funny because sometimes you also get things like Final Fantasy VII, a game created by a Japanese studio about corporations.
oh my god, Colin Moriarty was going on about this the other day too, or about Final Fantasy VII. You know, its story is just so resonant, and as we move into the future, it will only be more resonant because they told you not to pollute. Now, chat, I'm going to finish this video, the last 4 minutes, by myself because I can't be bothered to wait until next stream. But we've got to end because, you know, we've got the great battery going flat. Now, rumor has it, chat, you know, I have not confirmed or denied. You might have to check his Twitter, but Elite RE, I believe, is streaming, and he said maybe it'll be a long stream tonight. Don't worry, I'll probably be there to make him watch all the videos I want him to watch. We'll see if I'm bored working on my great Berserk video. But I've also got to get up a little early in the morning, so you never know. But Elite RE has to get up early in the mornings now, too. So, you know, he's got to go to bed early, so his stream might be early. Maybe he's waiting for me to finish. Who knows? Maybe he's live right now. I have no fucking idea. But anyway, laptop's gone flat. Get the fuck out of here. We'll see ya maybe in a few hours. Maybe not.